Gut, wenn es jetzt keine Verständnisfragen mehr gibt, würde ich gerne an Anila Hajnaj übergeben, die ihren Input zu innovativen Ansätzen bei der EITI in Albanien halten wird. Albanien gehört seit 2013 zu den EITI-konformen Ländern und steht kurz vor der Veröffentlichung des 5. Berichts. Ich darf Ihnen Anila Hajnaj kurz vorstellen. Sie ist Vertreterin der Zivilgesellschaft seit 2009, Mitglied der MSG der EITI in Albanien. Sie ist Geschäftsführerin des Albanian Center for Development and Integration und seit Juli dieses Jahres Geschäftsführerin der Coalition Women for Natural Resources Protection. Sie hat Rechtswissenschaften, Sprachen und Literatur an der Universität von Tirana studiert und war in verschiedenen Funktionen für das Internationale Komitee des Internationalen Roten Kreuzes tätig. Anila, ich darf Ihnen das Wort übergeben.
Thank you for inviting me here. I really appreciate being here and meeting and sharing among us. I would like to introduce you a little bit of our activities in EITI. We are small countries. We are not that developed as Norway or Germany. I think we are, since we don't have the structures of the state the way you are, we are facing more difficulties in reporting, but always where there is a goodwill, you can win. Starting with us, we are actually rich in natural resources as a country. We've got a lot of petrol, copper, chromium, and waters. We have a lot. That's why we wanted to include this in the report. So to start with, in the framework of the transparency of all the applications we are doing for European Union, so we wanted to participate in this process. So in 2009, Albania accepted the candidacy country. With the decision of Council of Ministers in 2010, it was decided to start proper work for this process. Actually, there were not financial resources for that, so it was World Bank who supported us in this regard. And in 2010, World Bank, because still we were struggling to produce the report, World Bank provided $300,000 for the structure, offices, and the first report. In March 2011, so working with the process, meantime, we wanted everything to be consolidated. So it was a new law for the minings because there were so many amendments to which exceeded 50% of all the amendments of the law, of articles of the law, so they decided to produce a new mining law. So profiting from this situation, it was explicitly mentioned EITI. So companies operating in Albania had to disclose their payments in accordance with EITI. So this was also approved by the Council of Ministers in 2011. In April 2011, we produced the first report. In June 2011, it was decided, let's say, to formalize the MSG group. Meantime, we were working there, we were joining there, we were thinking how to do everything and how to go to the process. So it was formalized, and multi-stakeholder group has to follow the procedures for Albanian membership and as an implementing country. So it was decided that multi-stakeholder group had to have 6 representatives from the government, which means 5 from the government, but the Deputy Minister of Economy had to be leading the group. 5 representatives from the civil societies, and 5 representatives from the extractive industry. In August 2011, it was a validation report. Of course, there were recommendations which we were trying to improve everything that it was recommended there. And in January 2012, with the order of the Ministry of Economy and Trade, it was organization and operation of the multi-stakeholder group for the prosecution of Albanian membership procedures in the extractive industry. So it was also, you can see here, order from the Prime Minister. And in June 2012, we published the other report, 2010 report. If you can see, we were a little bit late on time, but you know, I will explain you why, because the state institutions, they are not so consolidated in the reporting system, which still we are struggling. So in 2013, finally Albania was declared compliant country, and we could process and we could have possibility and the citizen to see revenues from the companies of oil and gas. Here we had a problem in 2013. We could not proceed in the normal way. We could not produce the other report because it was the election time. So it was the shift to the new, let's say, the opposition took the power, and when they came in power, you know, it was the transition process. It was not the first thing that they had to think about to do. So World Bank was due to expire at the end of October, and the government yet didn't know. It was not involved profoundly in the EITI process. So we had to negotiate as MSG group, and we had to discuss a lot in order to profit again from the World Bank fund. That allowed us to have the funds in January 2014. Because we were a bit late, we decided the same year to produce 2 reports. So in June 2014, it was published 2011 report. Working in this regard, because we needed also to be supported by the laws, in October 2014, it was again amended, the mineral law. So it was added that state institutions should report according to EITI standard, and all the declarations should have the signature of administrator and the audit of national audit for the institution or international audit for the companies. In November 2014, Albania published 2012 report. And we were happy because in March 2015, it was amended hydrocarbon law where reporting where companies should report according to EITI criteria, and the obligation have to be included. I have to explain you something. The mineral law, it's providing all the data, and it's saying that everything should be opened, all the contracts should be open of minerals, so we don't have problems in this regard. Regarding hydrocarbon law, we cannot disclose the contracts. So we are having problems because we don't know how to receive the information. Since the contracts have been signed previously, we cannot enter, we cannot disclose term of reference, so we are having problems in the reporting of this. In December 2015, we expect to have, this month, we expect to have 2 last reports, 2013 and 2014. And these 2 last reports will be published with the new EITI standards. What we included, because discussions have been made in the MSG group, and we decided to include 100% of companies who are dealing with petrol, 100% of the companies we are dealing with bitumen and 100% with copper. Other minerals, the ones who are above $750,000, which means that it's 77 to 78% of mineral production. These two last reports, we are going to report also for hydropower energy. In this regard, because, you know, what you were discussing, you should not be so stressful what we have to report and to report better. Every year you will learn. Every year you will understand what you have to include more, what is mistaken done, you know, so you will learn step by step. This is what we did, you know. It was the beginning. Every day it was a learning process, so now we know better what we have to include. After 2 years, we wanted to include also limestone and sandstones, and now we decided to include for the hydropower energy. For that, we decided to make a scoping study for inclusion of hydro energy sector in EITI report. And what it came out from this, it is that we really need to include this. It's shortly, I would like to say that hydrogeographical territory of Albania, it's 57% larger than its geographical territory. So we deserve to have this in our reports. We have 152 rivers and 8 big rivers which can produce a lot of energy. Before 90s, we also were working in this, and we had built capacities in this regard. So here you have some information about that. During 45-51s, 10 kilowatt per hour per capita. 1952, it was another hydropower plant with 5,000 kilowatt. 58, another one, 25,000, which every time they were increasing. So there were some more hydropowers in 71, 78, 85, and small 90 small hydropower plants. There were no further developments until 2007. Considering the current power supply situation, we needed really to have power. So the government decided to develop this sector and to put in the priorities. So from 2009 until 2012, production was considered as second most important source of energy produced in the country after crude oil. So hydropower plants generate almost all electrical power in Albania. Before we had some thermal power plants, but now they are not working, so we have to consider this a lot. Yeah, as you can see, there are the places where they are building now hydropower plants. Hydropower sector contributes in 2% actually of GDP of Albania. And while its reporting revenues accounted 2.7% of the state budget. Domestic production, power production, covers 89% of domestic needs. But we have also a lot of losses while the energy is transporting within the country, because they are not renovated, which means that it's 42% of total domestic needs. Power exports remain minimal, or 1.6% of total exports. According to national strategy, total annual potential producer in Albania is estimated. Yeah, you see the figures there, and this is derived from the installed capacity of 3,000 megawatt. Actual situation is that now they are given 175 concessionary contracts, which are signed for the construction of 502 hydropower plants, with a total of 9,159 terawatt hour. So we have now hydropower which are in operation 102, and under construction 73, and the ones who didn't start construction is 327. Now, in consideration, we took 102 for the reports and 73, the ones who are in operation and the ones who are under construction. A large of them, as you saw, they didn't construct it yet, and this shows delays of the 2 years and above of the construction, which means that they have to it's foreseen, the energy is foreseen in the concession contracts that the concession fee for the year 2013 would be 1.78 billion lek, which is 17% of total report revenues, which is 10 times higher than the actual revenue received from this benefit stream. Implementation of the Transparency Initiative. Despite the relatively low share of contribution to the GDP and the state budget, the analysis of the hydropower sector has shown that it would be beneficial to implement the Transparency Initiative in this sector. It is a vital contributor in the sustainable economic development of the country, which is expected to grow a lot. In fact, highlights the importance of making transparent details of the relation between the state and the sector, which include relation between the state and the state-owned companies, the relation including cost spent in subsidizing the sector through transfers made to the state-owned companies, relation between the state and the key private investors engaged in the complex concessions of PPP agreements, energy transactions within the country and imports and export with the other country, cost of the energy and impact of the different factors such as network losses, etc., etc. Scoping of the transparency in hydro energy sector. Alongside with its direct input in the economy through domestic products, generation of fiscal and other budget revenue employs in the hydro energy sectors has the crucial impact of the cost of the doing business in the living in the country. The market dominated by state-owned companies that provide generation, transmission, distribution of the electric power in the benefit of the Albanian citizens needed to be open toward privatization and public-private partnership. In this context, the implementation of the initiative in this sector would be beneficial through the making transparent the key drivers of the sector. Accordingly, we wanted to disclose the relation between the state and the state-owned companies. This would include revenues the state derives from the direct participation in the sector, but also in investments and funds. As a result, the state should own companies, including cash, TSO, and OSHE, have to report, because we are having a lot of problems. We had private companies which was owned by Prague. By privates, yes, but we had a lot of problems in taking revenues, etc. So they were decided to stop this company, and we are obliged now to pay a lot because they wanted to go to the arbitrary court, and they made a deal with the government and this company, and Albania is paying a lot in this regard. So we really have to disclose all the information in order to know what is going on with the hydropower energy and how this is going to be handled. We want also to see the relation between the state and key private investors. You have the points here, but I don't have more time. Energy transactions within the country and import and export within other countries. Cost of the energy and impact of different factors in the network losses. And we have to know about leading production companies, sorry. But we have to see also, because all these companies which are not building, which are not operating in construction of the plants, now they have to report on, they have to pay penalties due to the delays, and we don't know, are they paying or not? So we have to be more transparent in this regard. We also have issues of concern, which is within EITI process, which is a national statistics system. We don't have a fair statistics system. For example, we are having, while the reporting, we are having problems getting data from the Ministry of Energy and getting data of Albanian Agency of National Resources. So these data are not matching, and we don't have a centralized system to have all the data including. Instat, state which is providing all the system is not information, is not online system. Tax office is online system, but it's not coordinated with the tax offices in different areas of the country. It is good because we achieved success from the first report to the 2012 report. Discrepancies was from 2.5%, now it's 0.7%. Another issue is that civil society's organizations were working a lot, and for the remedies, royalties to be distributed to communities, which in the beginning was decided that had to be 25%. Lately, the government decided to reduce this, and they decided for 5%. And here is an issue of transparency, because this was not discussed at all to MSG, so we were not informed that this royalty was reduced, and this is creating problem because community are not getting what they deserve to get. So I'm making it short because I wanted to discuss a bit about reporting and payments from public institutions, agencies, all the things which we, let's say, we ask for the information, it is asked information, but they provide some information, but they don't provide the latest ones. The other problems we are facing is that the business is paying what they have to pay until 31st of December, but everything is recorded. Banks are closed in the beginning of January, so everything is recorded in the next month, in January. So they enter to the new fiscal year. So, you know, we had problems in matching all these figures, so we couldn't, and there were discrepancies, but until we realized how it can happen, this created a problem. They also inaccurate information. As I mentioned, we don't have license identifications. For example, business name, business address, NUIS, which is the license number. We have a national registration agency, so we can take from them, but we cannot have all the information from the ministry, so to go to this institution to get the real data. So, and also reporting of information for contextual reporting. They are missing data on production, includes details of quality of minerals extracted. We are exporting minerals, but we don't have, it is an issue raised years ago, that we don't have, let's say, in the custom office, we don't have a laboratory to make analysis and to see what is the content of this mineral, because we have mineral which is with gold, with the silver, so we don't know what is the profit that the state could have. So we have also we are also losing in this. The value invested by each mining license since the start of operation until the end, we don't have. Amount of mining production extracted from each license since the start of the license. Amount invested in environmental rehabilitation by each mining license since the start of operations versus amount to be invested in accordance with the mining regulation on guarantee funds. Environmental and social impact studies performed for the sector, including environmental plan. Financial statements of the entity, including details of revenue, expenses, cash reserves, and specific programs planned to finance with the revenue generation from oil contracts. As I mentioned, there were some missing from Ministry of Industry. So method and technical and financial criteria used for awarding hydropower concessions, we don't have. Methods and technical and financial criteria used for awarding hydropower concession and oil agreements for 2013-2014. Partial reporting for the number of mining companies applying for each zone. So they are problems. So for the information, we hope usually what we do with within MSG, we decide if our information is not provided, we decide to write a letter, so the minister writes a letter sending to all the companies to provide the information. And I hope that until the end of December we are going to have all the information, because we realized that differences in the draft of the last report amounted above 4% in the last 2 years, which in the last 2 years the difference were lower than 1%. So there are a lot of things, but I didn't have time, so I read it. Thank you.